this is Shawn Powell. I'm one of the people doing the training inside of Master Traffic Institute. And before I started rolling out everything, I thought it might not be a bad idea for me to take a second and really introduce myself, get you some idea of who I am, where I came from, maybe how long I've been in online business, and how a lot of my training actually evolved. Um, I am 44 years old. I'm about to be 45 next in less than 30 days, as a matter of fact. I did restaurants here in North Carolina. I did it for 26 years in different locations. My last location was on I-40. I had a tremendously busy restaurant that was on the way to the beach. Um, like anything, I got into restaurants at an early age. I enjoyed it. It came really easy for me because it was like breathing. I mean, to be perfectly honest, when you do restaurants long enough, and even though I might have done a couple of different restaurants, the last one I was at, I was there for 13 years. It was probably the most strenuous restaurant I had worked at just because of the sheer fact of how busy we were. Out of the chain of restaurants that we personally had, we were at the top of the, for the one of the number one stores, and everybody heading to the beach and coming back, we just got killed all the time. To be perfectly honest, when I first got in online business, it was October, the last week of October of 2014. So while I'm making this video right now, I have still been in online business for less than 3 years. So, but so much has changed in my life since then. In the last week of October, I found something that I was really interested in online business. To go just a little bit further back, my little boy had been in the hospital. That's my little boy Adam right here. I'm a single dad. He lives with me. He went in the hospital. He was there for 6 days, and they had to run tubes down his nose and everything. And it was pretty tough for both of us. And but while I was there, it really started making me think that anything could happen. And I don't have some sob story about being financially entirely broke. Working 26 years in the restaurant business and me being one of the bigger guys in the restaurants, I did pretty good financially. What I didn't realize until I got into online business, y'all, is the fact that I didn't have a way out. There was no way for me to leave. No matter what I was doing for the next, until retirement, there was just no way out. I was pretty happy-go-lucky considering, when we came back home from the hospital, that 5.5, 6 day stay wound up costing us $11,000. Cost me $11,000. And I have always felt like I should be able to do something online business. I'm very computer oriented, things of that nature. I love figuring things out. And I always felt like, even back when I was in my 20s, when the internet was really starting to come, big, I always felt like it was going to be something I would do. And a girl I was dating way back then, for my birthday, she wound up buying me a book, and it was talking about the internet, how to do online businesses and stuff like that. Well, that was a long time ago. I never did anything with it. I stayed focused at, doing the restaurant business and things of that nature. Well, when I got home, I did a search because after seeing that $11,000 that bill, heck, it could have been something severe, and how much that could have knocked me back financially. And so I started thinking about it'd be really great if I could find something with online business. And I came through, and the very one of the first things I found was a YouTube video, and there's this older gentleman I respect an awful lot right now. Matter of fact, he's passed away recently. His name is Chuck Bolay, and he was standing real far behind the couch, and he was a long ways away, and but he was talking about something. I could tell he was very passionate about it, and even though I didn't know anything, I was as green as anybody has ever been green coming into online business. I did go through the rabbit hole. I went through it. I wanted to see what this older gentleman was talking about. To be honest, I think he grabbed my attention more than anything. He asked a couple of questions, and it made me like, well, he just did a really good job with the presentation. Let's put it that way. And when I went through the rabbit hole, I found out what the name of the company was. Not even meaning to, and I wish I did. I didn't even sign up underneath them. That's how green I was. I just found out what it was, and I did like most people would do. I hit the internet and I hit YouTube looking to see about that business. I wanted to learn more information about that business, seemed too good to be true to me. Well, next thing you know, I wound up doing about 30 some pages worth of notes on this business, and I hadn't even signed up yet. And I know that sounds so ridiculous compared to most people who get into business, but that was my perspective. I wanted to make sure that if I joined something, that it's legit and I understand the aspects of it, I could teach other people what I was doing. So I took off. That's kind of the situation I was in. Like a lot of people, um, I wound up looking for the person that I thought was I could get in their back pocket, do exactly what they've done and be able to get free from a job. The first guy I came up underneath, to be sponsored into the business, he got free from a job in 2 years, and I thought that was absolutely incredible. I was like, man, if I could just, if I had to work my tail off every day, nonstop, every minute, if I could get free from a job in 2 years, it's worth it. You know what I'm saying? I really started waking up and realizing that I didn't have an end in sight in the restaurant business. So it really was a huge wake up call for me. The person I came into business with had already left that business, and I'm not knocking him. He'd already left the business and went somewhere else. But he did a good job. He had a lot of videos out on YouTube and things of that nature. Did an excellent job at making his own web pages. It just grabbed my attention, and I was like, you know what? 2 years freedom is what really stuck in the back of my mind, and that's what I wanted in my life. So if I can just get in this guy's back pocket, okay. What I learned, y'all, is that when he had already moved on, I didn't really have a sponsor for that business. Now, at that time, if you'd asked me, I would have told you that was a terrible thing. I think most y'all, when you get into a business, any business, you sit there saying to yourself, I'm going to go get the best sponsor I can, blah, blah, blah. And I got that. But you know what? Sometimes God works in funny ways. And my dad, when I was 19 years old, had gotten the Amway. And again, me wanting to just figure out how things work, I studied Amway way back then. We didn't ever make any money or anything, but my gosh, man, the things I read at 19 years old, some of the best books that anybody could read, you know what I'm saying? And it got me thinking. And at 19 years old, it set me on fire. Learning how to think right. Read books like What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Shed Hamstetter. This is Shed Hamstetter. I read How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie. I'd watch, they had these motivational tapes, and these people just got up there and they just let go. And what I learned back then was it was about belief, sacrifice, commitment, and things of that nature. So I knew a lot of these answers. And over the years, those books had taught me how to think a little differently. So I owed a lot of my life, to be perfectly honest, from the time I was 19 years old to the time, to I got into online business. A lot of the things and decisions I made in my mind, it's almost like I knew the answers because I've read them and it's always kind of stuck there. I wasn't implementing it to online business, but I was implementing it into my life. Now, my little boy, when he came around, a lot of these things I read back then, I learned that you don't, how many times you're told no as a child growing up until the time you're 18 years old, how many times you're told you can't do this, and how children believe things and we're kind of tell them not to believe these things. I mean, there's so many things, I taught my little boy a lot that I learned when I was younger. And that stuck with him. And I see it today. And I'm proud of my little boy. He does a lot of things that I wouldn't have done or known at his age. You know what I'm saying? Because I had the opportunity to learn these things. Okay. So I jumped into business. I took off. I did not have a sponsor. What I did have was an incredible Facebook group. It wasn't a big one, but there was a couple leaders in there, and some of these are actually in Power Lead Systems now as well. I still see these same people, and I had realized only a few things. Number one, if I'm not getting seen, I'm not going to grow. Okay, if I'm not getting seen, I'm not going to grow. Number two, and this hit me like a ton of bricks, y'all, and it stuck with me. Sincerity is the answer. I know that sounds crazy. I remember when I popped into the Facebook group, I'd been in there for a few days, right? The administrator of the Facebook group probably thought I was crazy. I popped in there. I was like, I know the answer. This has all been on my mind for a while. And it was, I was like, sincerity's the answer. Sincerity is what's going to open your mouth and people are going to relate to you. Sincerity is in belief, to be perfectly honest, it's got everything. It's going to fuel everything. And I realized along the way, while I was out applying action, that I was getting all the correct answers. Things were falling into my lap, and it just made common sense, to be perfectly honest. How believing in my business, knowing if I'm not getting seen, I'm not going to grow, was just about all I needed to get the ground running as fast as I could, right? So the training that I teach, every bit of my training is going to be what I call real world training, right? Now, in my opinion, and I'd say this today as well, I think God letting me not have a sponsor was one of the best things that ever happened to me in online business because I applied action and I learned about my own actions. And by doing so, I learned to make it work for me my way. That's something that you don't get, to be perfectly honest. Most people do not get that part. That if I read something, and even my own training, if someone just reads it but they don't implement it and they don't apply the action behind it, it's just theory, to be perfectly honest. Once you hit the ground running and you're applying action and you learn from the good or the bad, to be perfectly honest, if I know I'm not going to quit, if I join businesses that I believe in, and I know, I mean, not just saying I'm not going to quit, I mean, I know I'm not going to quit, then I know it's just a matter of time. When I got my first business, I took off like a jet. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I didn't have a good computer. As a matter of fact, it sucked. My computer was an old gaming rig. Still had a Windows XP on it. It wouldn't even play the modern day games because it was so old. But that I was working in restaurants, y'all. I was dad to a little boy. Didn't have a whole lot of time, so I wasn't upgrading computers and putting in new video cards and stuff very often. You know what I'm saying? I did back in the day before my little boy was born. It's kind of my way of entertaining myself to some degree. So I was very computer oriented. I just didn't have anything new. I did not have a laptop. Ironically, here's another step that God was coming into place. My S3 phone is all I had, an old smartphone, right? It was not old then. It'd been out for a little bit. But I had bought a stand for my phone about a week and a half before I'd even realized I was getting an online business. And it came in on the same day that I signed up to that business. Already took 30 some pages worth of notes, right? I wanted to talk to the person that I signed up with because I wanted to make sure that it was legit. To be perfectly honest, I think I'm a lot like a lot of people. If I got messed over in a business, I'm okay with that. I'll call it a learning experience, to be perfectly honest. But for me to bring other people into the business and then something happen, it makes me feel responsible. It makes me feel terrible. You know what I'm saying? So I want to do my diligence, due diligence, get out there, ask the right questions. And when I did finally get in touch with the person I came into, which, like I said, he was working another business, he couldn't believe, I hadn't even signed up at that moment yet, to be perfectly honest, when I talked to him. And I had all the answers basically. And the questions I had for him was just how to get out to the people, things that what would you recommend? He already knew I knew the business. I'd studied the heck out of it. So his word of advice was, and I consider it still a good one to be perfectly honest, at minimum make 50 YouTube videos. At minimum, right? All right, y'all, you gotta understand. Here I am working 60, 65 hours a week on average. Every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I'm working 40 hours in 3 days, over 40 hours to be perfectly honest. My little boy, because I leave before he gets up in the morning, And I would get home after it's time for him to go to bed. Half the week he couldn't even stay with me in my house. Some days I was lucky enough to I'd have a babysitter or something like that, but majority of the time he couldn't even be in my house. And this was normal life for me. I consider this okay. I don't know who I thought I was doing good compared to who. You know what I'm saying? That's what brainwashing 65 hours a week. And to be perfectly honest, I had many days or weeks I was working up to 90 hours. Some weeks when I was younger, y'all, before my little boy was born, if I'd known how many hours I worked, I wouldn't have even shown up. That's the honest truth. So I got into the business by just like I said, just felt like everything's falling into place. I had this huge excitement in my stomach. It just wasn't going away. I remember I was doing YouTube videos at my kitchen table. If you notice right here, y'all, this is my kitchen table, and that's obviously my kitchen right here behind it. I did 130 videos, 130 videos in a month and a half, and I didn't. As soon as I mashed the play button, record button, all I did was tell people what I found, what it meant to me, what it would mean to me, and then I would show them the way in. And I was as sincere as I could be, y'all. I'm gonna tell you that. And y'all, I'm gonna tell you something. Something magical happened. I'm just like everybody else. Day one doing a YouTube channel, I was just killing it, right? Just killing it. Trying to learn so much, so many different things. But I did my 130 videos in a month and a half. I only got 12 views to this one. I might have got 8 views to this one. But you know what? The people that saw me saw someone on fire. It was beautiful. Now, I'm not saying I did everything right because I was far from it. But you know what? I went back recently and looked at some of my old videos. And that guy was on fire. And you realize that people will follow you if you believe in something. That's the honest truth, y'all. That video, this picture right here, the reason it means so much to me, and I've almost basically have used it to a point where it's a way of branding me. Let me show you this down here. This is one of my sales funnel I've created, using Power Lead Systems, obviously. And down at the very bottom, this is the image I've got right here, right? And that was actually one of those, while I was doing all them 130 videos, a little boy wanted to be part of it. So he asked me, could he sit down with me? And he sat down at that video, and this was him waving at the end, telling them bye. To be perfectly honest, y'all, most pictures, it's of my little boy. I'm always the one behind the camera. It's just me and him, to be perfectly honest. I didn't have many pictures. And that picture meant a lot to me because, to be perfectly honest, the reason I got in online business was because of my little boy. You know what I'm saying? If not for Adam, if not for him going into the hospital, I probably, y'all, to be honest, you wouldn't be hearing me. Oh, ain't no probably to it. I wouldn't be right here. I wouldn't have been able to get free from a job. I would not be able to change everything around. So let me tell you something, y'all. Since I got in October that last week, May 7th of 2015, just like it says right here, May 7th, I was able to get free from a job in 6 months. All I used was Facebook, my S3 phone, and using to make YouTube videos. I still did not have a laptop when I got free from a job. There is no excuses, period. And what did I do, y'all? I found a business that I believed in, that I laid in bed and could not sleep. I had to get up. I lay there, and my little boy, tiny little boy, he was pretty small back then too, but he was laying over here asleep, and I knew I had to get him up in the morning to get him, to school and stuff like that. And it'd be 12 o'clock at night, but my gears was turning in my brain, and I had to get up and go find out. Well, I wonder if I do this. What ifs? What if I try this? Would this work? What happens here? I wonder if anybody done this. It's those what ifs that kept me up, and I couldn't sleep. And I'd write notes, and I'd come home from work because I wasn't free from a job yet. I'd come home from work, and my pockets were full of napkins to where my mind was not on work anymore. It was about these online businesses where it was unlimited, no ceiling, and all I had to do was show people I believe in my business, that I'm a practice what I preach kind of person, and get out there and get seen. I understood that that's what they needed to see more than anything, and it just took off like a jet. Now, my YouTube channel, to be perfectly honest, I wasn't getting a lot of views at that time, but it was bringing me some people in. And what I learned in YouTube was the answer for what I learned in Facebook. Just be sincere, y'all. Just let go. Mash the record button and let go. Because what's inside of you is what people need to see, what they need to hear. That's what they're going to connect with. People do not care for your hangups. I'm going to tell you that. Whose hangups are there? They're your hangups. If you're fat, if you think you're too fat, think you're too old, you're too bald, you're missing your ear, whatever you think your problem is, they may look at you for the first 2 seconds. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that. But as soon as they see someone that believes in what they're doing, they're going to forget it. All they're going to see is that that's going to come through. And I'm going to tell you why. Because belief is a universal language. And that's, I'm telling you, those are the things I'm going to be teaching you. It's going to be, I'm going to call real world training. These are things that I learned while I hit the ground running. And while I was out there applying action, I realized these things, took place. Here's some of the accomplishments I got. Obviously, I got free from a job in 6 months. That's absolutely incredible. I've been home for my little boy from birthdays to birthdays, not missing a day. Get to go eat with my little boy, anytime I want to at school, or I go wait and when he gets out of school, we'll go together and spend a few hours, have a picnic at the park, go get a Domino's pizza, let him play with the kids there, and I'm there every day. Life is so much better and so much different than it was a couple of years ago. And online business can do it. And honestly, y'all, I'm gonna tell you, Power Lead Systems was the answer for all of this. No part was Power Lead Systems not part of a businesses I do today, and no part was Power Lead Systems not just a backbone, but what was the financial parts also coming into the business. Okay, so you've got something absolutely incredible. I'm just going to show you a different aspect of things, probably a little different than maybe Frank Calabro, probably a little bit different than Rob Frazier. Everybody's just going to be themselves. They're going to be different leaders that have made it work for them in their way. And we're going to be showing you some of the things that I consider as priceless. One of the best things about my priceless things that I'm going to be teaching you, all of it is free. Every penny of it, every bit of it is free. And that's going to be something that's going to really help you out. So I hope you enjoyed my training, y'all. I've gotten, looks like at least 12 videos to make. They will not be so wordy as this. I will be the first to tell you, sometimes when I'm talking, all I want to do is mash record button, and I'm just going to let it go. And I want y'all to take notes, but I want y'all to get the big gist of things. And once you're done, think about what I'm telling y'all. Again, some of the accomplishments I've done, been number one in online businesses. I've doubled second place in some of the businesses I've been in. And some of them were actually the creators of the business itself. I hit another business, didn't even contact my list at all. I had about 7,500 people on my list. And I started from YouTube from a dead stop for the second business I'd gotten to. And I was able to get to where I was making over $13,000 a month in the first 90 days to the bank. $13,000 a month in the first 90 days. Absolutely incredible, accomplishment for me when my goal was to hit 7,000 a month, at that time, and I almost doubled it. Just with just YouTube alone, and a little bit of Facebook in the background as well. I got free from a job using Facebook on my phone. So obviously I'm going to be teaching you the fundamentals of what I learned in Facebook. I went from there and to another business where I was able to hit over $40,000 in the first 30 days. And I was using YouTube just about 99% of the time and nothing else. I never done any paid advertising. I've never done any solo ads. I couldn't even technically explain it to you. I've never done one. And I'm not knocking paid advertising, y'all, so please understand that. What I will be telling you is I just personally never needed it myself, because what I learned is every step of the way I went was branding me. And that's the number one thing you could ever do for yourself is brand you into online businesses. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the training, y'all. I'm looking forward to going through it myself, and I appreciate it.